sign, show me a face, show me a fight. Hope is on our side. Were they blind to your fears? Were they unwilling to try? Our hope is blind to the incline. How to save a life? You don't choose the time. Love shows up ready to fight. We have help on the line. Will we get there on time? All I know is we have to try.
Welcome back to the morning feed. Listener discretion is advised as we discuss the ongoing details of criminal and civil investigations. So before we get into the documents, I would like to give just a little bit of background on the story for the few who may be tuning in that do not already know this story. Many people that are going to listen to this, I would assume, already know the story of Harmony Montgomery, the trial of Adam Montgomery, her father, and the whole story that unfolded several years ago while our country was going through a pandemic. And so let's get into the background details. I'll timestamp below so that you can fast forward this if you already know the details and just really don't want to listen to the horrific things all over again. We're not going to get into all of the really graphic stuff. This is just a basic summary. But even that can be quite triggering for people who watch the trial. So just a forewarning, nothing super graphic, but we are going to give a little background here. So photos of a blonde-haired, blue-eyed, former foster child named Harmony Montgomery flooded the internet during a time when the world had a few moments extra to engage in her story, more so than normal, especially more so than we've seen over the last 15 years of our lives. People across the globe were experiencing the first modern-day shutdown after the spread of the virus that then led to a big pandemic. We try not to say the word because YouTube likes to shut that down. So people across the globe were going through this very difficult time, and the internet became an outlet for people to be able to engage in what's going on in society around them and stories like this. Now, during that time, the mother of Harmony Montgomery, she was experiencing a different type of shutdown, a communication breakdown between herself and Harmony, her daughter. From missing posters to a criminal trial and then back to ground searches. This is not usually the way that a criminal investigation is conducted, unless the person that's on trial is being convicted of taking someone else's life and there's no body. This is commonly referred to as a no-body case, and that is exactly what prosecutors did in the trial against Adam Montgomery, the father of Harmony Montgomery. Now, around the holidays in 2019, the mother of Harmony Montgomery, Crystal Sorey, she lost contact with Harmony and began reaching out to anyone she might be able to get in touch with who could go and check on Harmony. Crystal and Harmony's father, Adam Montgomery, were no longer together, had not been for quite some time, and at the time, Harmony was living with Adam after he regained custody of Harmony from the state foster care system. Adam and Crystal had lost custody of Harmony in previous years due to basically just a history of struggling with addiction. Crystal arranged for her son to be adopted, and while that process was unfolding and taking place, the court that was handling Harmony's case granted Adam, her father, custody. Crystal no longer had the custodial rights to Harmony, but she was allowed to have visits that were granted by Adam, and phone calls, and there were mutual contacts where she could reach out to people to kind of check in and see how Harmony was doing. Until the holidays of 2019, and all of that communication ceased, and Adam began to block her calls, her messages, block her on social media, and Adam's wife, Kayla Montgomery, also began avoiding any contact with Crystal. The following 2 years were met with complete silence from Adam and Kayla, from law enforcement, DCYF, local officials, anyone who Crystal was trying to reach out to concerning the whereabouts of Harmony were silent. Adam and Kayla continued collecting financial assistance for Harmony. They continued living as if Harmony was very much a part of their lives, and she was, in the worst way possible. By late 2021, the name Harmony Montgomery began to finally get attention after letters to the government, local government in that area began to get a response. And she got a little help from the family who adopted her son. It seemed that officials were finally ready to investigate the disappearance of Harmony. In late 2021, law enforcement began searching for the most basic information they could find out about Harmony's current whereabouts, living conditions, any kind of information they could gather. By December of 2021, they located Adam in a parking lot. They stopped him to ask where Harmony is. Adam refused to assist and provide any information to law enforcement about where she might be. Adam and Kayla had moved out of their home at the time, and they appeared to be living in a vehicle with their children. Now, the following month, law enforcement obtained a search warrant for the last known residence where Harmony lived with Adam. The family was evicted from the residence without a plan in place to go over, to move to somewhere else, to go to a new residence. There was no income and a major spiraling drug addiction. By the time police searched the former residence that Adam lived in, they had also collected enough information for charges after discovering basically welfare fraud and child neglect. Adam and Kayla claimed that they dropped Harmony off with Crystal Sorey, her mother, and had not seen her since. The inconsistent statements, though, and the initial delay in searching for Harmony became basically an international headline overnight at that point. Over the next year, the searches would be conducted at homes, apartments, shelters, and wooded areas, all places where Adam was known to be. Every search only increased the media attention that just waited in hopes that Harmony would finally be found, or a piece of information so bombshell would be found that maybe we would finally know if in fact she was still alive. Because at this point, no one knew. Now, by October of 2021, it became clear that the hopes of Harmony possibly being alive could no longer be a likely outcome, and by January of 2023, a grand jury indicted Adam for causing the death of Harmony by fatally striking her. An admission that was made by Kayla, his wife, who was also incarcerated, but for fraud. Adam refused to attend his trial, and he remained in jail in a cell for the duration while his wife was called to the stand to testify about what she knew in 2019 when Harmony seemingly just vanished from everyone who knew her. The public expected to hear about the horrific fatal injury that Harmony sustained before her death. They did not expect the details that would follow. Kayla detailed their movements after Harmony's death to explain to the jury what happened to her physical body after the fact. She described a number of places where Adam would store her, and in the following months, she would be toted around from place to place, including even at his workplace. He would take her. I really don't want to get into the graphic details because I just don't want to keep dragging people through this nightmare of a story. And it's not a story, it's a reality. So it's a true story, but it's also a very dark reality for many people who are close to Harmony and for many people who followed this case since 2021. So essentially, they held on to her body and ended up toting it, like I said, around to wherever they went, their home, their residence, their work. And Kayla was a part of this and did as Adam instructed, according to her on the stand. I don't think we'll ever know the full truth of what happened here. Well, we won't, because Adam has remained silent, even after pleas from the court to please reveal where Harmony was left. Where was the final place that she was left? As she is still missing. She's never been found. So Adam had a long criminal history, including violent offenses. What the court would be facing would be just an absolute nightmare of an individual who showed absolutely no regard for the human lives around him. Now, what did the court require him to do to prove he was now a stable parent for Harmony? Why did contact with Harmony cease after being placed with Adam? No checks, no home visits, even after Adam's family called to report that Harmony was being physically abused by Adam. Typical tactics were used by Adam to hinder authorities from checking on her, like basically evading them until injuries would become less visible, things like that are done every single day by people who are trying to evade criminal charges for the things they do to minor children. So the lawsuit filed by Crystal on behalf of Harmony's estate details the investigation, the custody arrangement, and the failures by the New Hampshire DCYF, by their state, to properly investigate these allegations of abuse. Now, Harmony is still missing, like I said, and despite a guilty verdict during the murder trial against Adam, the search continues, and Adam has not revealed, and I'm sure never will reveal, where she is located. Now, he was sentenced to a minimum of 56 years in prison for taking his daughter's life, and now the search continues. We'll continue to monitor both the search and the court process and let the public know how they can help with those searches. As for Adam, he is now in custody. He will be in custody, serving out his time in prison, and we don't really expect any more help than he's given this entire time. I will say I have for free over on our Patreon account. I have this document. You can go and view it yourself, download it, however you would like to view that document. It is there and available for free. So let's go over to the document and let's go through it. So I have it up on the screen for everybody just so you can kind of follow along. But basically it says the plaintiff is Crystal Sorey, the mother of Harmony Montgomery, and the administrator of the estate of Harmony. Now, the defendants in this case are listed as the state of New Hampshire, the Department of Health and Human Services, and the Division of Children, Youth, and Families. So we're going to go past the jurisdiction and venue part, all pretty common language of what court they want this heard in, why they want it heard in that court, who Crystal is, who Harmony is, all the basic stuff. It says here that Harmony was born on June 7th, 2014 to Crystal and Adam Montgomery. Now let's scroll down here and we're going to get into the actual facts that they're presenting. So it says on or about February 22nd of 2019, a Massachusetts court awarded custody of Harmony to Adam on information and belief. Shortly after Adam was awarded custody of Harmony, Harmony moved into Adam's home in Manchester, New Hampshire. At the time, Adam's household consisted of his wife Kayla and Adam and Kayla's two sons, 2-year-old SM and infant DM, and they had another child after this. we won't get into the details of that. On information and belief, the house in which Adam and his family were living was owned by his grandmother, Helen Montgomery. On information and belief, when someone calls DCYF to report suspected abuse or neglect of a child, the call is made to Central Intake. Pursuant to DCYF Policy 1150, in effect at all relevant times, the intake unit serves as the critical role of determining whether reports meet DCYF criteria for child abuse and neglect, as an assessment, basically. It also establishes how these contacts are to be classified, documented, and referred for further action or services if appropriate. So this is just a screening line where they basically decide, are we escalating this situation and sending it over to DCYF or not? So pursuant to RSA, and it lists I'm not going to list all of these numbers here for everybody, as I know a lot of people are not going to look it up, and the document is out there if you want to check it and go look up the actual code. For each report it receives, DCYF must perform a child protective investigation to, among other things, determine whether there is probable cause to believe that any child in the family is abused or neglected, including a determination of harm or threatened harm to a child. So the nature and the extent of present or prior injuries, abuse or neglect, and any evidence thereof, and a determination of the person or persons apparently responsible for that abuse or neglect. So on or about July 29th, 2019, DCYF received an anonymous report expressing concern for Harmony's welfare. This report was recorded in DCYF's records as an assessment. According to the assessment, the reporter stated, on returning to New Hampshire from Florida on July 22nd, which we now know is the uncle of Harmony Montgomery, who was on vacation and then returned to the house where Kayla and Adam were living. The reporter had observed that the 5-year-old Harmony had a shiner, as he said, so a black eye basically. According to the report, Adam said that he had left Harmony alone with the baby, the infant, while he went to the bathroom. And while he was in the bathroom, the infant began to cry, and Harmony put her hand over the child's mouth. In response, Adam had beaten the dog shit out of her. That's what the report states. The reporter also stated that the electricity for the home had been shut off. There was a generator powering the air conditioner in the living room, and the premises were filthy. The reporter had also seen a bent spoon in the house that was believed to be drug paraphernalia, and expressed concerns that Adam, a former drug user, had in fact relapsed. Following this report, the assessment was assigned to a child protection social worker, who they name in here as Sorrows. So they provide in relevant part that the alleged victim will be interviewed in person by a CPSW according to the priority levels and timeframes listed below. And what are the times listed below? And I'm going to go over a lot of this. Some of this we would typically skip over a little bit in order to get through a 26-page document just a little bit faster and weed out some of the details that we already know. Like, that's why we fast forward through the jurisdiction part. We already know the jurisdiction and all of that. But what I'm focusing in on these details too, even though they're a little bit tedious, they give insight to people who are victim advocates and share missing flyers and try to critically think about a case of a missing person or otherwise. That way you kind of know these things. What is the policy of DCYF? When are they supposed to respond? How quickly? How are they supposed to perform an investigation? Things like that. These are all details that you can then apply to other cases and know before, you go and make, certain suggestions or the way you formulate your posts about a missing person. That way you have these details in mind. Well, why didn't they do that? Oh, wait, that's because of this or that. So always helpful. Just like in the Madeline Soto case, a lot of people are, me think of one of the biggest details of the Madeline Soto case that reminded me of so many other situations that happen. People were asking, it's a 2-story house. Why is the man sleeping upstairs and going downstairs to use the bathroom in the middle of the night instead of just using the bathroom that's right there? Like, that's weird. That means he went down to the first floor to, and him and the mom were in on it and everything. I'm not saying she didn't know. That whole case, that, of course, Jennifer Soto is highly suspicious. And I usually don't say that about a family member without the thorough facts in front of me. But I mean, no one can look at any of that and say there's just too many lies and inconsistent statements and avoidance of answering certain questions. But when it was all first going on, people are like, why would he go downstairs in the middle of the night? Why in the world would he do that? And I was thinking, well, there's a million reasons. They've got roommates. Sometimes people have certain bathrooms for certain people in the house, like it just depends on how many you have in the house. It could literally be anything. Maybe he liked that bathroom better. Who knows? That is not something that, comes to my mind and I automatically think, oh, this is sus. Oh, there's something wrong. Red flag, red flag, red flag. I put it in my back pocket and I keep going on and collecting more information and figuring out, okay, why is this something? Is this something that we need to feed into the rest of our information about the investigation? Anyways, that was totally a side thought, but that's why it's important to know these little tedious details, though, so that when you're kind of throwing things around in your mind, you kind of have a better idea of, just because this is the way I think it should go, or this is what we do in our house, does not mean that is so for everyone, and it doesn't mean it's suspicious. So that always should be weeded out before we jump to conclusions and then just pile on all those things that we have jumped to that we think are suspicious, but could have a variety of answers for. So anyhow, let's get back into this. So the assessment, they're gonna go over a little bit of when an assessment is supposed to be done, how quickly, blah blah blah, all that stuff. So a level 1 assessment requires a face-to-face contact with the alleged victim within 24 hours, excluding weekends and holidays. And this was categorized as a level 1 incident. DCYF policy 1201, in effect at all relevant times, states in relevant part, all children in the household must be met or observed by the CPSW to assess the validity of the referral and to make a determination about whether they are in immediate danger. The CPSW must consider the following when interviewing the victim, the child victim rather. Questions and discussions are to be kept in simple language appropriate for the child's age and level of development. Be aware of what is considered normal childhood behavior for various ages and assess the child's overall understanding of the situation. Questions must be non-leading and open-ended. The child must not be pressed for answers or details. Nonverbal materials such as drawings or puppets may be used. Assess the child's speech and language skills, mental abilities, motor skills. Information to be obtained from the child, if possible, includes time, date, place of occurrence. With young children, dates and times may be more easily related to television shows, holidays, or seasons. Who was involved, how the incident occurred, frequency or duration, a description of the incident of abuse or neglect. Age-appropriate techniques such as nonverbal materials or automatically correct drawings may be used, and whether other household members were present, and if not, where the child believes they were. Alleged injuries must be observed and documented. On information and belief for each assessment, there is a contact log recording context between DCYF personnel and others that occur during the course of the assessment. On the morning of July 29th, 2019, Saros made an unannounced visit to the Montgomery household. Saros reported in the contact log for his assessment that he saw Adam and Harmony getting into a vehicle and leaving the premises. He noted that he briefly saw Harmony and did not observe any concerns. On information and belief, Saros believed that he observed Harmony only from a distance, so as she was leaving the premises with her father, and therefore failed to see the injury on her eye. Saros also noted, which I have no idea how you see a child from a distance getting in a vehicle and you don't get a close-up view and you're able to still note that he briefly saw her. Like, no, you didn't actually see her good enough to make the assessment that you didn't observe any concerns. Saros, that's like, I passed by a car in a red light with a child in it. They looked fine. Like, what? Saros also noticed that he recognized Adam from prior contacts. On information and belief, Saros had known Adam since he was 15 years old, when Adam was committed to the New Hampshire Youth Developmental Center, where Saros was one of Adam's youth counselors. Notably, during a subsequent visit 9 days later on August 7th, 2019, Saros documented in the contact log that he observed a red mark on Harmony's eye and faded bruising under her lower eyelid. According to the contact log, Saros spoke with Kayla, who stated that she had been expecting a report to DCYF because of a friend of theirs, Alex Call, who was staying with them in the home, and that he had reported in the contact log that Kayla told Saros that Alex, a drug user, had recently relapsed, and that Adam's uncle had discovered Alex's paraphernalia. Saros asked Kayla where she and Adam go for their own continued drug treatment. The contact log notes that Kayla also explained that the electricity had been turned off and Adam had gone to get fuel for the generator. Saros noted in the contact log that the room was a bit messy and smelled like a dog, but was not overpowering. Saros noted in the contact log that he also asked if he could return later that day to speak with Adam, but was told by Kayla that they were not going to be home. Saros gave her his card and suggested that maybe they could meet with him in the next couple of days. Now I'll just stop for a second. All of these are red flags. You've got drug paraphernalia there. They've got no electricity. They're trying to blame the drugs on somebody else. These are all red flag situations typically for a normal individual. Saros noted in the contact log that he asked if he could return a few days later. Like I mentioned, there's no indication in the contact log that Saros asked Kayla about the report that Adam had given Harmony a black eye. So we're not even inquiring about the injury. Saros made no notation in the contact log about it, beyond briefly seeing her leaving the home with Adam. There is no notation in the contact log for this visit of Saros conducting any interview with Harmony or speaking to her in any way. On information and belief, Saros did not conduct the interview with Harmony as required by DCYF policies and otherwise speak with her in any way. Following this visit, Saros noted that in the contact log that he sent an email to Manchester Police Department stating, "I think you folks are all set. I saw the children and did not observe any bruises, marks, etc." Oh, so disappointing. As noted in the contact log, Saros called Adam later that afternoon. During that call, Saros and Adam discussed the drug paraphernalia found in the house, which Adam said belonged to Alex. Saros discussed his concerns about the substance abuse and noted in the contact log that Adam reported that he and Kayla are clean and attend a clinic. There is no indication in the contact log that Saros questioned Adam about the report on Harmony's black eye, reportedly caused by Adam when he allegedly beat the dog shit out of her. Now, Saros and Adam scheduled a meeting at the Montgomery home for August 1st, 2019. Later that same day, July 29th, 2019, Kevin Montgomery, as I mentioned earlier, Harmony's uncle, he contacted DCYF, and this report was logged as report number 826420. Now, in this report, Kevin stated that he returned from a trip to Florida on July 22nd, and he observed that Harmony had a vibrant black eye with bruising on the bottom of her eyelid, extending to the cheekbone, on the corner of her eye, on her nose, and on her temple. As noted in the report, Kevin reported that he asked Adam what happened, and that Adam told him that he, the whole story about leaving the baby alone earlier, and I'm just going to fast forward. That's also just victim blaming on the part of Adam Montgomery, so I hate driving that home over and over again. So let's fast forward that a little bit. It also details where the uncle basically was repeating what Adam said about the fact that he bounced her off of every effing wall in the house. We're going to fast forward all this. Like I said, I really don't want to relive this trial and this investigation. I know some parts you just have to go through, but at the same time, let's fast forward some of the really brutal stuff so that we all don't have to live that over and over and over and over again. It's bad enough that she had to live it once in a fatal blow. She had already been living it repeatedly. So additionally, Kevin reported that the electricity to the home had been shut off for non-payment, and that any electricity was being provided by a small generator that is not sufficient to provide power for all the household needs, as noted in the report. Kevin stated that there was no hot water and that the house was filthy both inside and out. Kevin went on to report finding what appeared to be drug paraphernalia. Kevin called DCYF again later that same afternoon. So this is so important to him that he's going to keep calling. But all good, police department, you're good to go, right? Oh my goodness. It's an enraging case, no matter how much you try to get around the graphic details. The report states that Kevin was seeking to know what was happening with his earlier report. According to the report, Kevin became frustrated when informed that this information was confidential. The report notes that Kevin reiterated that he had returned home from Florida on July 22nd and that he had seen the bruise on Harmony on the 23rd. So this reiterates some of the stuff we already just went over from Kevin. The report notes that Kevin describes how he had arrived home, all the things that we have already just gone through. Kevin mentioned in his report that Kayla's son from a previous relationship visits the home. DCYF Policy 1205 states in relevant part to help in the determination whether the neglect or abuse has occurred, the CPSW must make at least 2 collateral contacts during the course of the assessment. A collateral contact includes a contact with any individual within the community who can furnish information about the family. They may include school, medical staff, school staff, social services, hospitals, clinics, police, relatives, personal contacts with neighbors, friends, landlords. On information and belief, Saros never contacted Kayla's son from the earlier relationship. Saros noted in the log that he spoke to Kevin on July 30th, 2019. According to the contact log, Kevin, who became emotional at times, informed Saros that the Montgomery home was under foreclosure. Kevin again recounted having seen the prior incidents. In the contact log, Saros states that he asked specifically about the drug concerns. Kevin responded that he believed Adam had relapsed. In the court log, Saros makes no mention of asking specifically about Harmony's black eye. The contact log that Kevin asked whether Saros thought that what he was telling Saros was serious. Saros told him yes, and that he would be following up. Later that day, according to the contact log, Saros spoke to Kevin's ex-girlfriend, Christina, as noted in the contact log, and she expressed many of the same concerns as Kevin. DCYF received yet another report on July 30th from Pamela. This report was designated as, and it gives the report number. As noted in the report, Pamela also expressed many of the same concerns as Kevin, adding that when she was visiting the house a couple of days earlier, or for a couple of days rather, Adam would not let Harmony leave her room for the whole time on the grounds that she was being punished. Pamela reported seeing no food in the refrigerator, seeing drug paraphernalia, and that the generator was powering only the refrigerator and the air conditioning. Saros never contacted Pamela. The contact log also states that on August the 1st, 2019, Saros receives a call from Adam canceling their home visit. Surprise, surprise. Adam said he would call back to reschedule the visit. Saros called Adam back the next day and was unable to reach him and left a voicemail. Was unable to reach him or leave a voicemail, sorry. This is also noted in the contact log. On August the 2nd, I don't know why I keep saying other months, Christina called DCYF again. This report was also designated with a report number, according to the report, in addition to reiterating her concerns from the previous phone call. Let's see here about drug use in the home, the black eye, and all of that. Christina reported that she did not believe that Harmony had been seen by a doctor since moving in with Adam. On August 5th, 2019, got the month right that time, Saros recorded in the contact log that he had received information from the Manchester Police Department setting forth calls received by the police related to the Montgomery home. Among that information was a report that on July 7th, the police had trespassed Alex call from the property. So, the guy that they're blaming the drugs on. According to the Manchester Police Department calls for service log, on or about July 10th, 2019, the Manchester Police Department received a call from someone identifying themselves as a neighbor of the Montgomerys, in which the caller reported hearing a male and female fighting inside the house. The caller also reported hearing banging and screaming children. So let's go back for a second. Remember, it wasn't until mid-July, July 24th, that Kevin noticed the issue with Harmony. Right? So, July 7th, Alex, who they claim is doing the drugs, he had already been trespassed from the home. So their story doesn't match up here. And this should be the point where they realize we definitely have a problem. Even though there was a lot of reasons to realize that before this. According to the Manchester Police Department calls for service on or about July 10th, they had received a call from somebody identifying themselves as the neighbor. According to the log, Saros spoke with Adam and scheduled a home visit to take place on August the 7th, 9 days after Kevin's initial report of Harmony's black eye. According to the log, on August 7th, Saros conducted a second home visit. All right, so they do another home visit, finally. What do they see? Probably nothing. It's 9 days later. Well, I mean, more than that now, but on information and belief between Kevin's report of July 29th and August 7th, Saros had no contact with Harmony other than the brief glimpse he had of her leaving the home with Adam in the vehicle on July 29th. So, pursuant to DCYF policy level 1 assessment, requires face-to-face contact with the alleged victim within 24 hours. Saros paid a home visit to the Montgomery home on August 7th. Saros noted in the contact log that during the visit, he raised concerns about the substance abuse and had Adam sign a release of information from the methadone clinic that he had been attending, basically just to prove he had been there. Additionally, Saros noted in the contact log, with respect to Harmony's injury, Adam claimed that her younger brother had hit her in the corner of the eye with a toy lightsaber. Saros documented in the contact log that he spoke to Harmony a bit and made small talk while she was watching a movie. That's not an interview with a child victim or even alleged victim. Ideally, the child needs to be interviewed in a neutral, uninfluenced, non-threatening, private, quiet place that is free from interruptions. That is the policy of DCYF. On information and belief, Saros made no effort to speak with Harmony in a quiet, private, interruption and distraction-free environment. Saros noted that in the contact log that he had observed a red mark on Harmony's right eye and faded bruising under her eyelid. These observations were made 9 days after the report to DCYF. So 9 days later, when you still have injuries like that, the initial injury, the initial impact must have been pretty bad, right? A normal person may conclude. According to the contact log, Harmony told Saros that her brother had hit her in the eye with a lightsaber. And this is just a common misbelief that if we can get law enforcement or a social worker or some member of the state in front of a child, that finally we're going to save them. That's not the case. You know, I never would have told about any of the abuse that happened to me, when I was younger. Law enforcement did ask. There was no way I was going to tell them anything because we were made to believe a lot of things that we were told what would happen in that situation if we talked. Children know. They know how to survive. And when they are given an outline of what is required for them to survive, that is what they do. So then, in force and effect, the policy states bruises are usually classified by size and some information that can be determined by their appearance. One way to determine the approximate age of a bruise is by the color. On information and belief, Saros did not account for the passage of time between the first report of Harmony's black eye and his observations of it the 9 days later. Saros observed the remaining injuries to Harmony's eye. He took no steps to determine whether bruising of this nature was consistent with Adam's explanation that she had been hit in the eye by a lightsaber 2 weeks earlier, approximately. So he also documented Saros in the contact log that he asked Harmony whether her eye still hurt, and she said no. Whether she felt safe at home, and she said yes. Whether anything had happened to her to make her feel scared or sad, and she said no. And whether her mom, dad, or anyone else had recently ever hurt her, and she said no. On information and belief, Saros conducted this interview in a public part of the home with others present, in violation to DCYF policy 1201. So, within eyeshot of her abuser. Not alleged, because he's convicted. Saros did not ask Harmony any questions related to the reports that she had been punished by being made to stand in the corner for hours, that she had been punished by being made to stay in her room for most of the day, or that she had been punished by being made to scrub the bathroom with a toothbrush. Saros did not ask non-leading and open-ended questions as required by DCYF. He documented in the log that he spoke to Adam and with someone at Adam's drug treatment clinic. And on August the 8th, according to the log, Kevin and Christina again called DCYF and spoke to a supervisor expressing concerns that Adam had relapsed and was using heroin. Saros documented that he had spoken to Dr. Morrison, who had been told the children are up to date medically with no concerns as far as any abuse or neglect. However, the contact log notes that subsequent on March 3rd, 2021, Dr. Morrison stated that she had never seen Harmony, although she had seen the younger two children. Saros spoke to Dr. Morrison on August the 8th. He inquired about the children without using their names or any specifics to which children he was referring to. Specifically, inquired about whether Harmony was up to date, medically or otherwise, or if there were any concerns specifically about Harmony. So, as noted, first, on August the 9th, Saros recorded that he had a contentious call with Kevin, in which Kevin expressed concerns about Harmony. On August 15th, a family friend called DCYF on behalf of Harmony's grandmother. As noted in the report, the caller reiterated the concerns reporting earlier regarding Harmony's black eye, reporting that Harmony is blind in one eye and is supposed to wear glasses. Helen also reported her concerns that Adam was using again. So as you can see, these things were trying to be pounded into these people, and all they can come back with is, we had a contentious call with Kevin. Yeah, the uncle of the child who is being extremely re-abused by the system. So, as noted in the report, Thelma reported that she was concerned because the Montgomery house had no electricity. So we've just got all these people calling in saying, please help. Please. Somebody help. Now let's go down here to on September 11th, 2019, Kevin called DCYF again. The report was assigned a report number, and it noted that Kevin had called earlier to report suspected abuse. He now was reporting the Montgomery home had been foreclosed on and that the eviction process had commenced. He was reporting that there is no electricity in the home and that there is no heat, no hot water, and that is starting to get cold at night. So, this happens in September, New Hampshire, pretty cold place. I'm sure you can do the math. So the intake worker made a notation in the report that, according to Contact 3, Saros had met with the family and had seen the generator, which actually runs the stove, fridge, and electricity in the home. On information and belief, Contact 3, as referenced in the report, dates to a contact log entry that was made more than a month and a half earlier on July 29th. Also on September 11th, they had also received a similar report. The report was designated its own report number, and in it, Helen reported that she owned the Montgomery home and that she had returned to the home the day that she had returned to the home that day, but Adam wouldn't let her in. Helen reported that the house is in shambles, her words. She reported that there is no hot water. The refrigerator was barricading the back door because there was no lock, and that the home was filthy and it smelled of urine. Helen also reported having seen Harmony put in the corner for hours at a time, reiterating all of the information they've been trying to sound the alarm bells on. Saros told the family that he has known the father since he was 15 years old and should not have been assigned. Interesting. Maybe you could have brought that up a lot earlier and said, I may not be able to be objective here. On September 12th, 2019, Detective Sergeant Mike Bergeron called DCYF. This report was given a report number. The report notes that he reported he had been called to the Montgomery house because there was an altercation between Kevin and Helen attempting to enter the home to basically get their stuff out before foreclosure. While there, he noted that there was clutter in every room consisting of clothing and empty food containers. On September 16th, Kevin called DCYF again. According to the report, Kevin reported that his belief that Adam had resumed to using drugs, and he again reported that the generator is insufficient to run the hot water in the home. So now, according to DCYF Policy 1151, effective at all relevant times, states in part that inadequate shelter means failure by the caregiver to provide or seek to provide shelter that is safe, healthy, sanitary, and provides and protects the child from weather. Housing conditions, lack of heat, lack of shelter, hazardous conditions to the safety of the child, all of these things they're supposed to take that into account when, observing how to handle any given situation. So, as far as whether a child, it needs to be removed. So as noted in the report, on September the 24th, 2019, Crystal Sorey contacted DCYF. Crystal reported that Kevin had called her with his concerns for Harmony. She stated that Adam does not allow her to video chat with Harmony and does not permit her contact. So, according to the contact log on October 1st, 2019, Saros made an unannounced visit to the Montgomery home. Adam and Kayla told him that the house had been foreclosed on and they were being evicted. Saros observed Harmony watching television, said hi, and to which she responded hello or hi, and that was the extent of his communication with Harmony. Saros never inquired about Harmony's blindness in one eye or about the report that she was supposed to have surgery. According to the contact log, later that day, Saros called Adam, apologized for bothering him, and asked why Harmony was not at school. Adam said he had tried to enroll her in kindergarten and was told he could not enroll her without proof that she was a New Hampshire resident. So he's had her all this time, and she's also doesn't even have provable residency for programs or the assistance that she actually needs to learn, just the welfare assistance that they wanted so that they could do the illicit things they were doing. So on October the 5th, Kevin called DCYF. As noted in the report, Kevin reported that he was calling again because there's still no heat or hot water in the house, and it has now gotten even colder. The most discouraging part about all of this, just a side note, is that, a lot of times we do get there too late. We don't pick up on the signs soon enough. Again, Madeline Soto, very good example of people not picking up on the signs before it was literally too late. This isn't that. They had months and months to address this without a loss of life through an agency that is supposed to be exactly designed to do just that, to prevent abuse, neglect, loss of life. So on October 8th, Saros spoke to Crystal, and Crystal told Saros that she had not been able to see or speak with Harmony because Adam makes it impossible to co-parent in that kind of way. Saros asked Crystal whether she received all of her information from Kevin, and when she replied that she receives her information from Kevin, Kevin's girlfriend, and from Helen, Saros reassured her that he had conducted a thorough investigation and was attempting to close the report. On information, it's so maddening. Saros did not inquire about Adam's reported refusal to co-parent with Crystal. On October 17th, Saros sent a letter to Adam informing him that the assessment had been closed and was unfounded. Oh, the immediate safety of the victim is of paramount importance, according to DCYF Policy 1192. The safety assessment must be completed on all assessments assigned a response priority level within 24 hours of face-to-face contact with the alleged victim to guide decisions as to the following: whether or not the children may be safely removed from the home, or if they can remain in the home, the need for interventions to eliminate the threat of immediate harm, whether the child must be removed from the home. Safety assessments look at the child's present danger and the interventions currently needed to protect the child. Throughout the assessment period and for open cases, whenever new information becomes available that threatens the safety of the child or children, a safety assessment is completed immediately upon receipt of the new information. A safety assessment was never completed here. DCYF Policy 1172 requires that every report, the assigned CPSW must review all prior founded and unfounded but with reasonable concerns reports for the child or children and the family to evaluate the significance to the current assessment. If there have been more than 2 of these incidents within a certain amount of time, they have to review it. An administrative review of all identified reports will be conducted when there have been 2 or more unfounded but with reasonable concerns complaints involving any family member of any given household. These will be conducted through a review by a rapid safety feedback program specialist, an internal case consultation, a review supervisor completed through the supervision pursuant to their policies. But no administrative review was performed in this case. And we know DCYF, CPS, anybody, any state with their agency that is put in place to prevent these things, they all fail. They all make mistakes. It is a process of constantly recalibrating, but literally the most basic policies were completely subverted, ignored, avoided. It's truly criminal what happened here. So, an anonymous reporter stated that they were calling to report that Adam and Kayla were using drugs in front of their children. And they were residing in a shelter called Families in Transition. DCYF asked the Manchester Police Department to perform a welfare check. Now, this is on January the 8th of 2020. Sorrow spoke with Adam by phone, as noted in the contact log. No idea why this guy is still on the case. But he asked if he could stop and see the family. And Adam tells Sorrow Harmony is no longer with them, and she is living with her mother. So it also notes that Adam stated that the family had been evicted the day before Thanksgiving. They were going to be homeless. It made sense for Harmony to stay with her mother, whom she was going to visit anyways. It was not until 12 days later, on January 20th, that Sorrows left a voicemail for Crystal and asking if Harmony was in fact there. He never followed up on the voicemail he left, and he never took any further action. On January 21st, Sorrows spoke to the Division of Family Assistance and learned that Adam and Kayla had submitted applications listing only the 2 younger children as living with them. Now, Kayla was continuing to collect benefits for Harmony. It appears that either Sorrows did not, in fact, contact the Division of Family Assistance, or he documented improper information. I'd say the first option is most likely. Probably just didn't even contact them. It appears that Saros did not contact them, and on March 23rd, 2020, there was an assessment concluded of unfounded. Once again, on September the 7th, 2021, DCYF received a report from someone identifying themselves as a counselor or therapist, and they were reporting that they had called to report Crystal had not seen Harmony in 2 years, and she was unable to locate Adam, and Crystal was supposed to have visits with Harmony. Now on September 16th, Crystal received a phone call from a caseworker named Bailey, and according to that contact log, Crystal reported that she did not know where Harmony was and believed that Harmony was living with Adam somewhere in Manchester, New Hampshire. Crystal reported that there is a parenting plan in place pursuant to which she is supposed to have visits with Harmony. However, she does not have any contact information for Adam, and Adam has now blocked her on all social media accounts. Crystal stated that when she would have telephone conversations with Harmony, Adam would be in the background coaching her and telling her, and would hang up if Harmony said anything out of the script, out of ordinary, out of what he was telling her to say. On September 16th, Crystal began to believe that DCYF did not know the whereabouts of Harmony or Adam or whether Harmony was safe. On November 18th, 2021, Crystal called the Manchester Police Department telling them she hadn't seen Harmony since a FaceTime call on Easter 2019. Crystal told the Manchester police that while she had been a drug abuser in 2018, when she lost custody of Harmony, she had since regained sobriety, and that DCYF employees soon determined that Harmony was not registered in any Manchester school system. So by December the 29th of 2021, Crystal sent an email to the Manchester Mayor, Joyce Craig, begging for help. December 31st, 2021, the Manchester Police Department held a press conference and announced the search for Harmony. Now, just a side note, this was really where the case got very hopeful and very devastating all at the same time, because all these details were coming out and being verified. You know, things that were side chatter between Kevin and Helen and Crystal and the neighbors and just all these people who were trying to get in all these information who weren't being taken seriously, and even asked by the caseworker, "Oh, are you talking to that person? Okay. Now you guys are all in cahoots with each other trying to save this child. It's horrendous." That's how they were viewed. But even worse, Crystal was doubted by the public on every front. People doubted whether she actually had sent a letter to the mayor. They doubted whether Kevin was being honest. They doubted whether Crystal was being honest, whether Crystal had something to do with it, whether she should be taken seriously, or even have the right to complain about not seeing her child, who she lost custody of for drug abuse. A lot of people would throw a lot of shade at the posts that she made online and the things that she was doing to try and do what she felt she could to bring awareness about the situation and figure something out. So that, it's sad. We really need to remain open-minded and fact-based about our commentary, because you just never know. You never know if that's going to be what helps somebody further up the mountain, or if you're going to knock them even lower down the mountain. We all have an opportunity to be there for people. Just like in the Wolfenbarger case that I reported on not too long ago, there's a lot of people that would probably say, well, the Wolfenbargers, I mean, why help? Look at all the horrendous thing. Look at Patton and him being a killer himself, and this family is just getting what they deserve. No. We look at everything by an individual case-by-case basis. Human duality is far too broad, and we are all capable of a variety of horrific things. We're all capable of a variety of great things. And if we just show up unbiased for people, and try to get down to the facts, here's the thing. If that person is genuinely unworthy or guilty, no matter what, if a crime was committed, it must be figured out, and it must result in that risk and danger being taken off the streets, getting justice for the victim, and just applying the appropriate justice to the situation overall. That has to be done in every case, no matter who's involved. And we also have to be willing to understand that human duality does exist, and there are reasons that things happen at times, and we have to show up for people in those ways to prove our own humanity to each other, and that we're willing to extend compassion and grace in a time when no one readily wanted to do that with Harmony's mother because of her history, because they didn't get along with her for whatever reason of their own personal, opinion. So anyways, I just wanted to say that really quickly, because I'm not trying to justify her prior actions or anything like that. It's just the way we engage with people can really make or break a situation. And the real heart of the matter wasn't Crystal Sorey, wasn't Adam Montgomery. It was, where is Harmony Montgomery? And at the time, that was the question that needed to be answered. Everybody could look at Adam and know that he was suspicious. That was, hands down. But what we do with that from there very much matters. So at this point, Crystal began pretty much a frantic search for Harmony and Adam, using any department, resource, advocate, or assistance that she could get. People really did start to kind of flood into the area too to help search. This became a headline, a big story. Like I said, during a time when the modern era was going through its first really true shutdown pandemic. It was an interesting time, and people had time to pay attention for a moment. So a lot of people were watching this story minute by minute, news by news article, going on Twitter, on Spaces. At the time it was still Twitter, going on YouTube channels, going through all these different outlets, TikTok, you name it, trying to get the word out, and everyone was watching. So on November 18th, 2021, Crystal called the Manchester Police Department, telling them that she had not seen Harmony since 2019, like we mentioned, and that the DCYF employees had found out she was never registered to go to school. Crystal sent an email, like I said, to the mayor on December 29th. That's when the search really commenced and started, and the public, the law enforcement, everybody is involved at that point. They held their press conference on December the 31st. By January the 7th, Crystal received a copy of discovery materials, including some portions of DCYF's case record for Harmony, and it was only after receiving those records that she began the process of understanding DCYF's role in failing to protect Harmony. And Crystal was unaware and could not reasonably have known that DCYF had been negligent in carrying out its role and its policies and its duty to the people who supply for these support systems to be in place, which is us, all of us. So on December 31st, the Manchester police located both Adam and Kayla. Adam was uncooperative and refused to provide any information. Kayla reported that after they were evicted on November the 27th in 2019, the family had been living in their car. Kayla recounted that between November 27th and December 7th, Adam would get upset with Harmony because she was not saying when she needed to use the bathroom and was having accidents. And it believed that Harmony had an accident, and that was when the fatal injury occurred. On December the 7th, 2019 is when they believe that happened. Adam, it recounts what happened there with Adam and Harmony, and I'm not going to get into that either because we all already mostly know. If you don't know, you can probably figure out. Harmony had been inflicted a very fatal blow that day, they believe. And we just don't need to keep putting the public back through all of that trauma. So the document continues to detail the information that Kayla Montgomery, the wife of Adam, the father of Harmony Montgomery and stepmother, the information Kayla brought forward after she was they're both taken into custody eventually, and they have them separate at this point. They have them, allegedly getting sober. And at this point, they can begin to kind of hone in a little bit more on what they might be able to extract from Kayla or any other sources that were close to this whole situation. And as they do that, law enforcement goes through and they're, like we mentioned earlier, they're searching everything: homes, apartments, woods, wooded areas, shelters that they stayed at. They're doing search warrants for the methadone clinic, like you name it. They're going down every road they can at this point. Unfortunately, much later, but basically that's what the document details in the next, page or two. We won't get into all that. It's about how they move the body and all of that. And we, people who have really followed this case, they already know those details. And if you want to see those details, you can go over to our Patreon and see it for free through the document here. Anyhow, so all of that information came forward through Kayla, and on May 9th, 2024, Adam was sentenced to 45 years to life for this crime. And he was sentenced to an additional 11 years to be served consecutively for falsifying evidence and tampering with a witness, which would have been Kayla, and second-degree assault on Kayla. In November 2022, Kayla Montgomery pled guilty on 2 charges of perjury after reaching a fully negotiated plea agreement with the Attorney General's office, and she was sentenced to 8 months in prison. Now, that perjury stemmed, just so everybody knows and remembers, that perjury stemmed from lying to the grand jury, lying to law enforcement, she specifically to the grand jury, but she lied to everybody. On February 25th, 2022, a report titled Comprehensive Update on the Ongoing Case Involving Harmony Montgomery and Recommended Systematic Improvements was issued to the New Hampshire governor's office in consultation with the Attorney General. The purpose of this stated that the governor's report is to facilitate locating Harmony and making recommendations for systematic improvements. Unfortunately, not only does the governor's report contain inaccuracies and omissions in its recitation of the facts, which collude to downplay DCYF's negligence and mislead the public, which is what they do in all of these cases, any case against the state or any of their entities. The governor's report recounts that on December 20th, 2018, DCYF requested additional information from the Massachusetts DCF so that it could perform a home study, and goes on to state that prior to receiving the requested information, New Hampshire DCYF was informed that the Massachusetts court had awarded custody to Adam Montgomery. During which time the DCYF never followed up on the request or had any kind of contact between the two states. More egregiously, the governor's report states that on July 29th, 2019, which is when these reports were being made about the abuse, CPSW visited the home, observed the children, including Harmony Montgomery. This assessment was conducted as Adam Montgomery and Harmony were entering their vehicle. The governor's report does not state that this assessment was done briefly from a distance and that the CPSW worker did not ask Harmony anything or ask Adam about the injury. The governor's report also states that CPSW sent an email to the Manchester Police Department on July 29th, 2019, stating that he did not observe an injury on the child consistent with a black eye. In the course of outlining the assessment, the governor's report states that the CPSW spoke with Harmony Montgomery's biological mother, Crystal Sorey, who asserted that she lost custody and that Adam had obtained full custody. What the governor's report does not state that this call took place on October the 8th of 2019 and was made only in response to a call made by Crystal to DCYF 14 days later. This was only 9 days before closing the case into the assessment for Harmony. So finally, the governor's report states that on January 8th, 2020, a referral was received by the New Hampshire DCYF regarding the Montgomery household, but did not reference Harmony Montgomery herself. So, also a major problem. On January 14th, 2022, undersigned counsel emailed Attorney General John Formella requesting that DHHS Commissioner, and my eyes are getting a little bit blurry with this document, sorry, Lori Shibonet, and then DCYF Director Joe Ribsum. Wow, I cannot see for a second. Okay, we're good. The Associate Attorney General Ann Edwards responded that the records would be provided in the regular course. As the date of this lawsuit, no one from DHHS, DCYF, or the AG's office has communicated with undersigned counsel about this matter in any way or provided him with Harmony's complete unredacted DCYF case record. The plaintiff hereby repeats, realleges, and incorporates by reference each and every factual allegation set forth in the preceding paragraphs as though fully and completely set forth herein. So at all times relevant to the allegations contained herein, DCYF and its employees and agents owed the plaintiff a duty to exercise reasonable care to protect Harmony from unreasonable and foreseeable risks of harm, to provide her physical and emotional well-being, to promptly and thoroughly investigate allegations, instances, and indications of physical and emotional abuse and neglect of not only Harmony, but of other children as well, to follow, to adhere to, and abide by the laws of the state of New Hampshire, and by its own policies, practices, and procedures to protect children from foreseeable risks of harm, a duty to conduct a thorough, competent investigation upon receiving a report of suspected abuse, and the duty to otherwise comport with basic, and I mean basic, notions of due care to avoid exposing Harmony to foreseeable risks. And unfortunately, those things did not happen. Despite and in breach of those duties, DCYF's actions by and through its agents were negligent and breached minimum standards of care when it knew of allegations of concerning behavior of Harmony's caretakers, including but not limited to her father, Adam, including and but not limited to instances of physical and emotional abuse and neglect related to Harmony, and not only failed to conduct a thorough and competent investigation upon receiving a report of suspected abuse, but also specifically exposed Harmony to foreseeable harm when it failed to appreciate the danger faced by Harmony and failed to follow its own policies and procedures regarding without limitation, the performance of safety assessments, the performance of risk assessment, the review of prior assessments. Again, none of that happened. And that is what this lawsuit details. Over and over again, they recite these details and sum it up here at the end. Essentially, we of course hope that this lawsuit prevails, no matter what your thoughts are by anybody about the mother or anyone else related to or connected to Harmony Montgomery. This lawsuit should prevail because too many lawsuits like it have not, and it is highly important that we start standing up for actual victims and actual failures by the state government. So, and that's not only in New Hampshire, but that is everywhere. Georgia has an absolutely horrendous foster care program, as does many other places in the country. Kentucky was highlighted not long ago as having a really bad one themselves. So these are heavy, difficult topics to go over, but it's necessary to bring any light to this. I know people do not like to hear about children going through things like this, but unless we show up, unless we support it, unless we support the fight against it, then it will continue as long as people can find it within themselves to look the other way, even with the content that they consume. It is very vital to support these efforts. So I'm going to wrap it up right here. The last couple pages of the lawsuit basically sum up everything that we've already read. It is a heavy topic, so I'm not going to keep going over and over and over it. Like I said, the document is available over at our Patreon account at the morning feed. You can go there, view it, download it for free, whatever you would like to do with it. And we'll continue supplying documents there at our Patreon, and we're going once we have everything set up in there, we're going to do other things in there as well. So I'm going to just end this by saying, keep harmony in your mind when you're going through your everyday life and you see children or you see troubling situations, and make sure that while you may not get the most immediate outcome that you would like to see in the case, it's important that we have a record like this, because if there is a failure to protect that child, there is an established record. Had Uncle Kevin, had Grandma Helen, had the neighbor, had all of these people not continued calling, this record would not exist. And while it feels so devastating and so pointless in the end, it's not, because we can use this record now to hold them accountable, but only if we all line up to support it. We don't need this to be done in the dark. We need this to get as much support as possible. So I appreciate everybody who shows up, who listens, who shares out this information and continues to support the search for Harmony Montgomery, because she is still missing. So again, we'll do I think I'm going to do a really quick episode, just a couple minutes long, that show the key areas where people should be keeping their eye out for Harmony Montgomery's possible remains. Don't forget, they were at one time carried around in that off-white tote bag. It clearly would no longer be that color, but it would be an old, really, bad looking tote bag like that. And so you're not looking for remains in the way you might think you would be. So if you are out, especially in the marsh areas or any area that seems to be out of public view, I would make sure that you keep your eye out. And if you happen to see that there are searches going on, we'll announce them when we are able to as well. But if it's a public search, that is, if you happen to see search activity going on, we thank everybody who pitches in and gets out there and helps to look. It's very important. All right. And also, just Adam Montgomery doesn't deserve to be the only one who ever again knows where Harmony is. She deserves to have a proper place to be put to rest. So everybody have a great rest of the week. We'll be back with more. Might do a newsfeed live this evening. We'll see how that goes. See how things are going with cases and other things that we have to get done and out of the way first. All right. Thank you very much for listening. Continue to support credible resources that are helping out the Hurricane Helene victims, as many people are trapped still. Many people are in crisis situation out in North Carolina. They all need our help. There are disturbing stories coming out of that area where help is not easily getting to where it needs to go. So we're continuing to work on that as well as much as possible, and we'll start sharing out some more information as well on our social media pages with that, so that a lot of what I've been doing lately with it has been more behind the scenes, but I think I'll start posting some of that. So keep all of them in mind. It is not an area where resources are aplenty. So we need to make sure that as a community, as a country, that we all pitch in and help them out as much as possible. But make sure that you know who you're helping. I even suggest going over to the lawyer, he mentioned that on his YouTube channel, he's going to be sharing out information about a cause that he's helping out, and apparently all the proceeds go to the hurricane victims. So if you're watching on YouTube, you watch shows like this, you probably also know who I'm talking about. Go over to his page and get the information to help out with that. Try to find credible people you trust that are sharing out information where all the proceeds are going to go to the people affected. It's very, very important. Too many people try to make money in situations like this. Have a great day, evening, morning, whenever you're listening to this. Great rest of your week, and we'll be back.